Hello and welcome to voicED, where we are bringing together the four pillars of the education system: learners, parents, educators, and job creators to rethink, reimagine, redesign, and co create a new learning system. I'm your host Archana with my co-host Meg here. I'm mother of two self-learners, creative and adventurous learner myself, experimenting zero outsourcing in education, food, and well-being, leading a minimalist life and sustainability, while creating a beautiful co-creation space in the universe. And Mick with me, he is a wonderful educator. He's a creative technologist, and he is the favorite teacher of students from almost 20 different countries, and he is such a wonderful and amazing person. He has been working with me on like when we were incubating this podcast. So I welcome Mick also here. And
Thank you.
today is we are on our uh, second episode of voicED. And let me introduce you with our panelists today. So we have Hasini Lakshmi Narayanan from she is a 13 years old learner with the mission of empowering youth. She already has founded the First Step, in which she interviews young achievers. She is also YouTuber, freelance writer, a lot of things she has been doing, young nutrition ambassador, and she also spoke on TEDx. So welcome, Hasini. The question she is holding today is, and it's very worthwhile pondering upon, is: are we creating an experience of learning or just teaching? Welcome, Hasini. Uh, we have Naganand Kolar. He is a change maker and parenting coach. He also is an entrepreneur. And one, impactful thing I found in his profile is it's like he's very honest and it takes a lot of courage to say that uh, he went through the mental health issues, and he says he's a suicide survivor. And heads off to you, Naganand. I think at the age of 37, he found himself contemplating upon how his education and schooling helped him handle life challenges. And then he realized that it didn't help him at all. That was a breaking point in his life. After that, he has been doing a lot of other things as we talked. But recently, he's also hosting podcasts on parenting. So welcome, Naganan. Uh, then we have Bruno. Bruno with us, wonderful and amazing educator. He currently is in Malaysia, and he's a lifelong learner himself, and also child and teenager psychologist. I just love when you said, what makes you happy, or like brings a huge smile on your face when you wake up every morning, that you are going to learn from your students. That's the wonderful thing. Questions he's currently been holding is, when are we going to educate parents? That is the most burning question. Why so little options for students after school? Is university the only option for higher education? And why homeworks are seen as a punishment to students? In many other parts of the country, I think homework are something which is, I don't know, it's brutal. Anyway, then then we have Manish Gehlot. And as a parent, I think he is here representing the job creator and policymaker side, employer. He is heading practice North America practice for retail, and he is a practice head in Infosys. But he loves to work with youth, and he says that youth are not here merely to read the history but to create the history. And he's a technologist, but also he loves cooking. He's working a lot in natural farming and forestation and water conservation as well. One thing I would just love to tell everyone about that when, and he's my husband, by the way. But he always tells that when we decided to self learn, like to put our children into self learning route, he was in coma for 3 days. So I think Naganan, you have a lot of things to answer for him why parents are scared most. But anyway, so I will not take a lot of everyone's time, and I will hand over the podcast to Mick, and Mick is going to take us through our different rounds of when we ask questions to panelists. Mick, please.
Great. Thank you, Archana. And today, I'm really excited for this conversation and to ask you guys some very thoughtful questions and hear your feedback and your thoughts on some important pressing issues. We're going to start, we'll go in the same order each round. There's 3 questions for each of you. And we're going to start with our learner, as we should. Learners are the most important part of this equation. And often as adults, we have these long conversations without them having a seat at the table when they should be seated at the head of the table. And so Hasini is someone that I found on LinkedIn. I've followed her for a while, followed her journey. She's a very impressive young lady with all the things that she can do. And Hasini, we're going to ask you the first question. The first question is, what do you think about the structure of education currently, and how do you think it benefits and or harms learners in their young lives?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I'm very, very honored and pleasure to meet new people and interact with all of you. So, my answer is definitely going to be only my perspective as a learner myself. So, I currently am in 8th grade, and also I'm an entrepreneur and a public speaker and a writer too. I'm an author. So, I feel like it's a say, right? A stuff has both its pros and cons. So the current education system is just the same way. The structure is built up in a way when something which is beneficial is that we in school, that's the structure gives a concept of where children are all together and they have this ability to make some communication. So one thing which I've learned being on LinkedIn for a year is the best quality of an entrepreneur is to make out social networking and social communication. And I feel like schools give them at the particular point in the childhood itself, making friends and making talking to new people every year, making more connections. So that is one thing which will be beneficial for them during their future. Secondly, basic needs of life, how they can probably handle even small stuff, simple math, simple science is being brought up at school. Second, talking about something which is harmful or not really harmful, something which can be added on and which is not there in the curricular system is probably where a singer necessarily doesn't have to study economics or politics, right? The same way an artist has nothing to do with science. So I'd be more than glad if schools can provide, especially only when students move on to the 11th and 12th grades, if they can provide more opportunities on activities, like probably, any kind of extracurricular activities where they can excel and explore a lot from, which I believe will be very helpful for them in their future. And yeah, just give them a lot of opportunities to explore. That would probably be my answer.
That's great feedback, Hasini. I agree with you totally. And I love that you pointed out one of the great things is the social element, communicating with other kids and learning the basics. But one of the ways in which you're held back is that you're not given the chance to branch off in your own direction, right? You kind of continue along this general education path instead of being able to go into entrepreneurship or some other areas that you go into on your own. Great way to start it off. Thank you so much. Nagnan is representing our parents. Our first question for you today, Nagnan, and welcome, is this is something I agree with and that I've noticed just in my experience of working with parents as an educator. Why do you think parents have become more obsessive and protective about parenting in this current generation that we're in? What are your thoughts behind that?
Thank you very much for having me on the show. And to answer this question, is there are two facets basically on this. One is externally driven by education institution, ed tech companies, the marketers, the social environment which we live in. And I would not generalize that every parent is like that, but most parents are driven by these external factors. So they're influenced by the external factors which are telling them that this is not sufficient. They're showing that there is a gap. So there is actually parents have become obsessive about competition, about having that grades, which is actually not applicable most in the real world. The grades would not help them. The grades wouldn't. It only gives you an academic qualification, nothing apart from that. The parents who are internally motivated, they look at what kind of a person whom I'm giving to the world and all these kind of things. So in short, it is two factors, more externally driven than internal.
That's actually great feedback, Naganan. And from my experience with parents, I agree. Number one, not all parents are that way, and the ones who are kind of conditioned to highly emphasize grades, marks, performance instead of effort and things that kids actually have control over. So I think that's really great insight into this generation of parents and how they might be a little bit different than parents in the past. There's a higher focus on competition and grades than there ever has been, and that's basically to the detriment of the kids, unfortunately. Thank you for that, Naganan. Bruno, our educator, my friend, a great educational mind. Glad to have you with us today. As Arshan has mentioned before, we've all met outside of here and had great conversations about things that we think need to change in education, and we all bring different and unique perspectives that all drive towards the same goals. And so, Bruno, I'm going to love to ask you this one. What are some things that you love about education in its current form, and what are some things that you hate or at least highly dislike about education in its current form?
Yeah, good evening, Mick. Yeah, very easy for what I do hate the most is to grade students. This is plain and simple. I hate grading students because I found this totally useless and totally pointless. What I love into education is to I'm teaching French. I'm a psychologist, but I'm teaching French. And what I love doing is to make them agree with the fact that they are going to enter a very uncomfortable situation, an uncomfortable language. And the game is to make them love it. So I want them to love the awkwardness of trying to speak a language which is not theirs, which is totally outside the box for them, and for them to enjoy attending the classroom. I love having my students with a big smile when they enter my class, and I'm very happy when they are a bit disappointed to leave the classroom knowing which class they're going to have after. But the good thing is they know that they're going to see me very soon also. So these are what I hate, definitely grading. What I love is to increase the soft skills of my students by learning a very, very weird language.
That's great, Bruno. Obviously, I agree with you on all that stuff. Your students' experience with you is what counts. I remember when I was getting interviewed for the job I currently have, the HR director asked me, "How much do you care about grades?" And my answer was, "As much as you'll force me to," because I know that they're important to parents to a degree and that you have to give them. But I honestly don't care about grades. I care about the experience my kids have with me, and building their confidence, their soft skills, building their mindset over the course of the year, things they'll take away from my grade and carry on the rest of their lives. Thank you for that, Bruno. Manish, I did not know that you were Archana's husband. I should have known by the last name, but your kids are very impressive self-learners. You are representing our job creator. The first question we have for you, as an employer, the entire education system to a degree depends on you because you're fulfilling and providing a livelihood through employment. So there's been a change in direction more towards skills over degrees. And we want to know, how do you feel about that? Do you prefer someone highly skilled or someone with the best degree from the best university possible? I think you're still muted, Manish.
Sorry, guys. Thanks for having me on the panel, guys. Really appreciate. I hope I am audible. My internet is giving trouble because I am sitting in a forest area. So I hope the internet bandwidth would be okay. So if I hear you correctly, Mick, that you're asking that as an employer, what we prefer. a good degree from a degree from good university or skill, right? This is the question, correct? Yeah. So honestly speaking, over the past 24, 25 years, my observation is very clear that degree holders, specifically from elite school, come with a lot of ego and a lot of baggage. You know, whichever university they are coming from, we have to spend training years and tremendous amount of money in training them to become productive. So I would, right now I have changed my strategy. Honestly speaking, I'm not I'm actually rejecting resume. uh, if people are from elite institutions or people from metro cities, we are hiring very skill oriented people, what you can bring on the table. We really don't care what degree you have, which university you're coming from, but can you contribute? First thing, do you have attitude to learn, or you're coming up with a big ego or inflated ego that, hey, I am from IIM, or I am from IIT, or I am from MIT, or those kind of places. So preference is a skill. We test people for skill. Really don't care. Seriously, we have 12th grader working with us, and they are very very good programmer, unbelievably talented, and hungry for learning and all those things. So skill is my preference. Thank you.
That's great to hear, Manish, because we talked about this last week, and our job creator answered the same. And I threw in, I know young coders as well, self-taught, 14, 15 years old, that I guarantee know more about programming than some computer science college graduates who just learned by the
Absolutely.
book and took exams. And so it's great to hear that job creators like yourself are leaning towards skills, something that we can teach kids that is not timed by how old they are. And the fact that you guys are hiring, someone who's not even college graduate age because of their skills is an amazing glimpse into the future. And I hope that that continues for more employers like you. That's excellent. Great first round from our
Yeah.
panel. We are going to go to our second question for everyone. So we are back to our amazing young learner, Hasini. Just the things that you mentioned that you do before, none of those things are taught. No, there's no class in school on how to be a YouTuber or how to interview people or how to be a young entrepreneur. And so self-learning, though by nature, is non-competitive. And we were just talking about with Naganan, the parents driving competition with kids. So for you, do you feel discipline and motivation are needed? And how do you keep yourself growing as a self-learner?
Okay. So the fact that you said that I didn't learn YouTubing from anywhere or public speaking, this isn't new to me because I am not the only person doing it. I've interviewed about 100 plus people so far, and I know that there are people who can code, who can YouTube, I mean, who can become a social influencer, who can achieve at such young age. And I really, really am thankful and grateful and really appreciate. Sir, for giving opportunities for young coders and children who are capable of doing work which adults can also do. So, for me, discipline towards dedication is what keeps going, because when you know that you like doing something or you are passionate about doing something, I feel like, I mean, there isn't anything which. You don't need any kind of motivation or any kind of source to push you to do it. And for me, I just love public speaking. It comes naturally because I have fun and happiness doing it, and I guess that's what is most important. And if students can just figure out what they like doing, and if everybody can support it together, then you'll automatically start learning. You won't need any kind of source to learn or any kind of course you want to go in. You'll automatically go into the Google and search what are the internships which I can possibly be part of, and you'll just hype into it automatically. So this is students' perspective, in according to me. So yeah, that's it.
Now, that's great feedback, though. Basically, and this is something that all educators, parents, and everyone else should hear. If young people are learning something they're interested in, they will be intrinsically motivated to learn it. You don't have to force them, you don't have to test them. They will want to learn on their own. They will seek the answers that they find. And with the world's information in their pocket, they will find it and they will be able to accomplish great things at a young age, like Hasini is. Excellent. Thank you so much for that. That's a great answer and great feedback. Um, Back to our parent, Naganan. This is kind of adds on to what we were talking about before. What do you think scares parents? Because I think a lot of the control issues are fear based. And what do you think makes parents kind of force their expectations upon their kids?
Great question, this, and a lot of people are still figuring out this. But as per my experience, it is totally lack of awareness. It is where failures and society puts everything together. So awareness is the key thing. They are not aware of what the opportunities that the child has, and also it is linked to the confidence on their children. They're not confident about what abilities my child has because they have not explored it at all. Okay, and parents doesn't give the option of the child to be curious. Just a simple example: if there is a question which is there in their classwork, you have to write first, okay, the question is this, and then the answer. Why not just give two answers, which is there, two options which is there? So you're not making the child to be curious, and because of lack of curiosity, you do not have the confidence of understanding what the child is about, and that leads to the fear factor. And fear factor again leaves also is dependent on the lack of awareness. And yes, forced because they are not confident on their children, so what they feel is good, that which is there, and that is what they expect their children to follow.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot as progressive educators, that kids are taught from a young age to be passive learners in the school system, and their parents are taught to value grades, marks, and performance. And
Yeah.
of course, as you're saying, if the kids are not being allowed to pursue their interests and curiosities, they're not building their own confidence, and their parents not having confidence in them are now exerting more control or forcing more of their own expectations on the kids instead of listening to the kids saying, but I want to do this with my life, or I want to be this. Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent feedback. Thank you, Naganan. Back to my man, Bruno, our educator. This was one that Archana asked me last week, and it was probably my favorite question to answer. If you had the authority to design your own learning space or school, what does it look like? What is it? What do you do?
Okay, the first thing I would do is exactly what Naganan just said. I would work with the parents, because one of the very, very important things which is really lacking in Asia, I've been here for 17 years, and I can see from a French perspective, the education of the parents is not good at, is very, very bad, because the parents don't know what to do. Exactly what Naganan just said before. On top of that, you have lots of peer pressure from the other parents. So, and the third thing would be to have more options for the students, because in Asia, it's university is either university or university, regardless of your kid likes what he's going to do. There is no other option, such as a vocational college or vocational school, in which a student who, for any given reason, is not so academic could go and learn a proper skill set, which he's going to, or he or she is going to use afterwards to do a good business, and to find plenty of personal realization doing so, instead of wasting their years in university being taught for something they are not interested into, without even speaking about the price. In France, of course, the education is free, so which means the students can choose whatever they want, and they are not going to pay anything. In Asia, it's a different story. Parents are going to pay for the education of the kids, so which means the kids feel guilty towards the parents, and therefore they're going to try to study, try to get the degree the parents wanted them to have, without any personal reflection, and they're going to be clueless with a degree. The other thing also I would do, I've forgotten the question, but the other thing also I would do would be to create some kind of reflection time in school for the students. for them to set some smart goals which they could assess themselves on a regular basis, and making them more accountable about what they do and what they are supposed to do in the long run to reach their goal. And the last thing I would like to speak about, sorry if I'm a bit long, the last thing I'm going to speak about is the Ikigai concept, which is for me crucial for education. What you love to do, what you are good at, connect this with what the world needs to have, and then you end up having a job which is not going to be a job for you because you love doing this, and because you love doing this, you are master about this. So which means at the end of the day, you're paid to do something that you love doing. This is, for me, the best case scenario. But it means that the parents are aware of this. It means that the kids are aware of this when they are in year 7, when they are 12, 13 years old, when everything is possible. And then they start to think of what am I good at, what I love to do, what I'm good at, and what can I do with this kind of skill set. Therefore, okay, I need to work on math. Good, I'm going to work on math because I know I will need this. I will need to be good in English because I need to explain myself properly. I need to be good at this. So which means the kids are going to take ownership of their own path without the parents having to do this for them.
Sounds like a great school to go to, Bruno. And I think concentrating on helping parents first, giving kids more agency, more choices, more options than university where they're just going to study more academics, i.e. vocational training. And most importantly, what I liked about what you said was connecting their passion and what they love to do. We have that saying, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I don't consider my job to be work. I love being with my students, mentoring young people. So to me, the only job part of my job is the grading, the part that I don't want to do and don't care very much about. Being around my kids and inspiring them, that's not work. That's love. So I think it would be great to allow kids and parents those opportunities across the board instead of just if you go to a certain school. So I love that. I love that answer, Bruno. Manish, your next question kind of springboards off the first question about the skills versus degrees. What skills, aptitudes, qualities do you think that current grads are missing in terms of the future of work, which is right now? You touched on it a little bit, but what are some of the things you feel that college grads are missing? And adding to that, obviously, what kind of skills should they have that you feel are missing?
Sure. Great question. First of all, I chime with Naganan and Bruno for their answer. Wonderful answers. No, I clearly see that these three skills which are missing. One is the creative side. The creative aspect is completely missing. Second, critical reasoning. They don't have any rational. They are, I think, spoon fed, and the whole system is mugging and giving the exam and getting the grade. That's it. That is not going to promote the critical reasoning and then problem solving. They're not problem solver, they are problem creator, trust me. Most of the kids, they are coming out of colleges are, as I said, that they come up with such a heavy bag of ego and expectation. you know um, they become problem creator rather than problem solver. So I really see these three things are missing. They're not challenged properly in school. you know Passive learning is killing their creativity side, and discouraging asking question is affecting their ability to critical reasoning the stuff, that why we want to do this stuff in this way, why not there is another way, or. So that is what I clearly see, the missing aspect from the education institutions or schooling or universities.
I love your answer. Really reinforces something I do with my kids, which is I am teaching academic subjects to fourth graders, which I don't like at all, and I feel that most of what I teach them is not very useful. But when our work is done, I teach them Scratch, which is visual scripting. It's a visual scripting site made by
Fantastic.
MIT, and it's not because every kid should be a coder or a game designer. It's because of what you just said. It's a proxy to teach them creativity, critical thinking,
Absolutely.
logic, decision making, reasoning, all wrapped in. I don't know one thing that I can teach that teaches that many skills simultaneously in a way that they love. We do it in class, and my kids inevitably come back each week and go, "Hey, Mr. D, I was doing Scratch over the weekend," and I just stopped them like, "I didn't ask you to do that, right? I've never asked them to." And yet they, on their own, as Hassini was mentioning before, they love doing it. They do it themselves, and so now they're intrinsically motivated to build these skills that you are telling us are missing. So I thank you for that answer, because it reinforces, what I'm trying to do for my young fourth graders right now. And the results are in the things that they're making. They're 9 years old, and some of the projects, I'm like, where did you come up with this idea? Well, I just gave them the chance to. That's all. They're the ones doing the actual work. So, I love that answer. That really makes me feel good that I'm going back to work tomorrow after being home for 3 weeks with my newborn. So I'm excited to do Scratch with my kids. Yeah, thank you so much for that. So your guys' third question, aside from the parent, is going to be similar, and it's going to have to do with the other pillars. So coming back to Hassini, what do you think you need from the other three pillars, from parents, educators, or job creators, to help you feel more empowered, more supported in your pursuits? What do you think? How do you think the other pillars could help you?
It's an amazing question, and first of all, congratulations for you, Mick. And I loved hearing to the other speakers, to the other panelists here, because I'm a very big listener. To begin with, it's a very simple answer: from parents, support; from educators, guidance; and from job creators, opportunities. So I'm very, very thankful that I am gifted in all three pillars. I have super supportive parents. When I approached and said I want to become an entrepreneur, they were super open and super supportive. Luckily, I have super mentors to guide me, and super job creators. That's my sponsors for my channel. I am a young nutritional ambassador for a state, so I'm very thankful for the IAS who give me this opportunity. So I just have so many people around, but I'm not sure if all children have these doors. So one request to all the three pillars is be supportive. Just give them trust when it comes to parents. Believe in your children. I am pretty sure that if they love what they're doing, they would enjoy doing it, and they'll definitely succeed in whatever they're into. And when it comes to mentors, I don't have to say anything, because that's the total job of them to guide their students. And I do believe as a student that they do it perfectly, because students, that's mentors or teachers stands for perfection. And job creators, today's job creators always look for the skill set, as Manish sir already mentioned. And I'm pretty sure that they'll give opportunities to many youth as like me. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Hassini, I love listening to all of your answers. It's clear that you have a great support system around you, and that they have just shown you pathways, and you're the one sprinting down those pathways towards success in ways that you choose to do it. And it's amazing to hear. It's really, I have to be honest, on LinkedIn, most of the young entrepreneurs, and a lot of them are in your network, are in India. And I have to commend parents who, I have Indian friends who said, my parents told me I can be a doctor or an engineer. That's it. Those are my two choices. And I feel like there's been some changes in at least with some parents in India, like Hassini's and others, where they're letting their kids pursue entrepreneurism and taking their own paths of learning, like Archana and Manish did with their kids, and look at the results. I mean, you have amazing young people like Hassini and Maitri and your guys' son, Archana and Manish, and it's just incredible to hear. Great answers. And I just want to say, these questions were created by Archana. You guys keep complimenting the questions. These are not mine, they're hers. So it's her brilliant questioning. I'm just reading them off of the cue card, if you would. Back to Naganan, for your last one. Yours doesn't have to do with the other three pillars necessarily. It's more along the lines of, as a parent, what is the child that you want to give to the world? Like, what kind of qualities do they have? And what role do you think that, as a parent, that you play in their learning journey?
Wonderful, thought-provoking question this is. I always talk about one thing, which is let us not label our child as an engineer or a doctor or anything like that. Let us try to give an adjective to them. What kind of a person would you like to become? And would you like to become a leader? Would you like to become an influencer, like how Hasini is? Would you like to become someone else? Give an adjective to what you want to have the child become. And once that is set, right, you can always look for the options of how you can bring the child up to be that person whom they want to become. And yes, parents the parents play a very vital role in nurturing and fostering their kids development needs. It's all about listening, understanding, providing enough opportunities. I give certain small examples to parents. Where do you take them on a weekend? Now, because you want to go to a mall or a movie, you take your kids along there. Okay, what you're showing them is a show world. But why don't you try and take them to an auditorium, like a galleria, where you're giving them enough opportunities to see what the world has all about? You're not only taking them to malls and where there is showbiz and where there is a lot of, you know, it's all about what kind of an exposure you give to your child. So give enough opportunities so that the child understands what the world has, what are the opportunities the world has, and who as a person he or she wants to become.
Yeah, that's amazing. As a new parent of a 3-week-old, my students already asked me, Mr. D, what do you want your son to be when he grows up? And my answer was very simple: happy. I'm not going to choose his job. He's going to tell me what he wants to be. My wife and I's job is exposure, as you were mentioning. What are your curiosities? And let us show you them, and let us show you the world at hand, and you will guide us down those paths, and we will support you there. So I love to hear that you're already putting that into practice. That is definitely our plan as parents as well.
I just wanted to add one thing here, Mick, that as a parents, we are always in a role-playing mode where we just want to be in the being, not doing. And that is the one thing we can do for our lovely children. And I think they are going to make a beautiful life for them if we just be there for them. So wonderful. Yeah.
I don't know your son as well, but your daughter Maitri is a very impressive young lady. She, started self-learning at like Hasini's age and is now going to graduate school. So to think that you are going to miss out on going to college if that's your goal by being a self-learner, no, not at all. Maitri's just a more well-adjusted and well-rounded student going to college than most are who've gone through the system.
She has done her BS in psychology, Mick. So she is already completed her graduation because so anyway, but I think it's not something which only they need our trust. Kids need our trust, our love, and then the ownership of their life. That's it, and you are done as a parent.
I'm listening to you and Naganan and to Manish as much as I can to get this good advice to make sure I'm going down the right path with our son Zachary. And what you guys are telling me is very encouraging because your kids are a testament to your parenting style as it is. So great feedback from both of you as parents. Thank you so much. Bruno, your question similar to Hasini's third one. What support do you need from the other three pillars in order to accomplish what you'd like to accomplish as an educator? Some of the things you touched on before. What do you think you need from the three other pillars in order to make those goals come true for your students?
Okay, I would speak first about the policymakers. Policymakers means business and the big system to offer other options than college or university. Basically, this would be the main thing, because as a ripple is also going, as a riddle is also going to impact on the parents' mindset, knowing that there are other options for their kids. The only way is not to go to university, and if the kid doesn't go to university, is like he or she is a failure, which is totally wrong. This is something, and I mentioned before also that on top of that is very pricey for the parents. So which means it adds an extra layer of guiltiness, and the kids own their parents to go for studies, even though they didn't want to study what they are asked to study. So which means this is totally wrong, and we should have, at least in this part of the world, we should have lots of vocational options where students could gain a very good skill set which they are going to use in their life. Another thing I would like to do also is to teach mindfulness in school. So this is something which is also lacking a lot. Time to reflect, time to express gratitude, time to realize how lucky we are to be in school, to be able to be in school, regardless of the teachers, regardless of the subjects. But we are, so what I tell the students, my students, I tell them when we have this kind of discussion, why do you do to school? And of course, there are plenty of answers which are not super positive. And I tell them, you go to school to be free. What you learn in school is to be free, so that afterwards you can choose freely what you want to do in the future. Of course, there are plenty of bias because of the culture, because of the system working here. But normally when you go to school is for you to be able not to be forced to get married, not to be forced to work in a mine, but to do something that you're supposed to like to do. So this is what I would ask from the policymakers. From the parents, I would like the parents to work hand in hand with the teachers, because they are the first allies of the teachers. And I really like when we have the parent-teacher meeting to really discuss with the parents about their own kids. How is your son? How is your daughter? What does she like to do? What does he like to do? So, because this is going to give me feedback so that I can use this afterwards to challenge in a proper way, in a way that the kid is going to be able to answer to. No, because I got the feedback from the parents. And this is something I really like to do when we are able to do parent-teacher meeting, because you are an educator also, and you know that if you have made peace and alliance with the parents, nothing bad can happen to you. And especially if the kid is with the parents. So this is something which is very, very important. And then for the third pillar, which is which is for the students, yes, find what you love to do, but you have to, at one point, you have to stick to it, because otherwise you are going to move around, but at the end of the day, you have built nothing. That's why the Ikigai concept is very important, because it's going to help you to discover what you really love doing and what you are good at, but then after it's going to set a path for you to be able to work and to do something you love to do, which means, as you said, and we know this proverb, which is you don't work anymore, because you just live your passion, and you are paid for doing your passion every day, which means it's the perfect life.
Yeah, I love that. Mindset skills that I teach a core 4, but the first 2 are self-motivation and resilience, just because of what you just mentioned, Bruno. Self-motivation without the resilience means I'll try a lot of stuff, but I won't follow through on it. The resilience is what allows you to say, this is tough, but I'm going to stay at it. And I know through effort and hard work, I will find that success. So that's great. Manish, our third question for you, how can the other 3 pillars support you to help create a conducive environment to offer a secured livelihood to more people? So what can parents and educators and students do to arrive to you with the skill sets that will allow you to just say, this person's hired, like that? You interview them and you're like, that's what we're looking for. What can those other 3 pillars do to create more outcomes like that for our young generation?
Wonderful question. Wonderful question. So to learner, what, mm, as a job creator, my observation or my recommendation is that how can they be remain lifelong learner? Can they have that kind of attitude? You know, can they be curious and enthusiastic, motivated? And because like what happened, I tell my HR people always that give me candidate who is very motivated, who is enthusiastic, I will motivate him to do the great work. So that is one thing I really want. And the third, which is very important, gratitude, that is entirely missing right now. How can we bring the quality of gratitude among our young generation, so that they become more of human rather than robot, or just a productive machine. From educator side, you know can they promote asking question, instead of discouraging? Can they promote, you know do not let their students confidence shattered or their self-esteem get affected because of grade, or you know whatever the curriculum learning, if they are not you know in line or aligned with that. Please don't do that, because that is going to affect them lifelong. And third thing is democratize the education. Right now we are in a passive learning environment, which I feel, are we asking the learner that what do you really want to learn? They have no saying. Whatever we are deciding as an adult as a curriculum, that's what we are teaching. No, it is not going to help. Democratize the education part. Ask them what you really want to learn. Let them decide what they want to learn. So this is from the educator side. From parent side, I really want them to uncondition themselves. I went through myself the process that university or the current schooling is not the only way to succeed in life. you know W- they what if you're creating great engineer, great doctor, the first class engineer, first class doctor, first class lawyer, but a second class son, a third class father, and a fourth class husband? What is the use of it? So uncondition themselves, create great learning environment in their house. Like, we have, Archana did phenomenal job. We have created, our house is entirely a library, everywhere books, and a music system, like, we have put piano and this and that, and created an environment where kids find out themselves what they really want to learn. So great learning environment. And third thing, I really want them to stop comparing your kids with others. Please don't do that. It is so venomous to their health, their mental health, their future. Stop comparing. Your kid is unique. And that is one thing I really want the parents to do that. uh, from, so learner, parents, educator, these are the three. I have covered all three, right? From my
Yes.
side.
Very well, and
And
I love the unconditioning is a huge thing because parents are conditioned to place value on things that are not valuable, and then they pass that along to their kids. Great job from our panelists for our 3 rounds of questions. Your answers were insightful and inspiring and amazing and incredible. Archana is now going to hit you guys with some rapid fire questions. So short answers if possible, so we can get through as many as we can. Archana, go ahead. And once again, I want to reiterate for all the compliments on the questions. These are Archana's questions that I read. So all of the accolades should go to her and her brilliance in crafting these questions and
No,
this
Mick,
structure.
we are co-creating this all together. So don't give all the credit to me. But thanks a lot. It was so beautiful, and as much as I hate to exams and like questioning and everything, like putting you under stress. I haven't put any stress to my children, to my husband, anyone. But here I am finding it fun to put you under grill and taking some exams. So you need to tell me, and before we start our rapid fire round, there is a poster of voiced, and I would just love to listen from any one of you. What do we transition, or what do we need a paradigm shift from career to what in the poster? I have written some terms there, and I would love to know. Please don't cheat. Don't go and look the poster again. But it's
okay,
kind of a test on your observation skills.
career to character.
No, no, fail. Okay, guys, no answer. It's career to conscious living. So we want to shift and we want to
Okay.
transition from career to conscious living, right? Career is not everything in the life. So we want to.
You should
Anything?
have know that you would be asking some questions from the poster.
That's what I wanted to test, that how much observation power we have. And means I think I just gave you clues on rapid fire also. Last panel was like under like they were really performers because they didn't have any questions before. So
Manish might have got that wrong on his exam, but he did touch on it in his answer. So I still think he deserves partial credit because he
okay,
did say,
sure.
"Don't worry if they what's the use if they're a great doctor but a second class son or citizen or human being? What's the value in
Yeah,
that?" And so I
yeah.
think he did touch on the career versus consciousness in his
Sure.
answer. So
Okay, now the rapid
Thank
fire
you.
round starts, and there are five questions which are common to everyone. Anyone can answer quickly, but we really need to run it quickly. So I need one sentence from each of you. What do you want to start, stop, and keep doing in the current education system? Quickly.
Okay. Um, yeah. What I want to start, I mean, not me, what the education system has to start is giving students more opportunities to explore. Stop is probably pressurizing students, especially as Bruno mentioned, especially in Asia, students, hold this huge responsibility of fulfilling what the parents' wishes are, which is only due to family pressure or the society pressure, according to my opinion. So that should be stopped completely. And the third thing, probably, if Archana ma'am, can you repeat? Start, stop,
It's
and
keep doing or continue.
keep doing. One thing which I love about the current curriculum is their ability for students to be treated equally. I mean, at least in my school, at least, probably we have a huge strength, and I feel like all students are being treated equally, apart from any kind of culture or religion. And I
So
feel like they have a
yeah.
community to
Thank
speak
you.
to.
We
So.
need to really be quick in just one sentence or one word. So sorry, Hasini, but great, great answers.
Yeah, I'll go next if it's okay. So for me, start building awareness and providing enough opportunities for the kids to learn. Stop. Actually, this has to stop in schools. Stop passing children just 1 to 10. There is a system that you just pass every children. Okay.
One sentence. One sentence, please. Yeah,
And stop also of tagging and naming your child, and continue is about trusting your child. Continue trusting your child.
great. Thank you. Manish and Bruno, please come fast because we are running out of time. You got enough time to think.
Sure. Start, stop examining and continue, like the sports activity and fun activity in the school. That is, and start more community driven services.
Wonderful. Bruno?
Yeah, we need exam. Sadly, we need exam because otherwise the kids are not going to revise. But we need to explain, yeah, we need to explain also that the exam should be seen as a treat if they work properly instead of as a threat if they don't revise properly before. So this, otherwise the system is not that bad. It has to
Hmm.
be more human. I would say it has to be more human and work more on the exam and how the kids are
Thank you.
going to welcome the marks and
Thanks.
stuff.
Thanks, Bruno. Thanks. One thing you unlearned since you started becoming matured enough or you got out of your current like education system, not for Hasini because she is still she is still growing, but one thing you unlearned, please.
For me, it is giving enough, understanding that my child is also like an adult. He also has an opinion,
Mhm.
and that is a big, unlearning for me.
Thank you.
For me, it is, schooling or education is not the only way to succeed. That is what
Great.
I want to unlearn.
You unlearned or you want to unlearn?
I unlearned already.
Bruno and Hasini, please. fast.
I don't know what I want to unlearn because I'm still learning lots of things. So unlearning, I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'm not mature enough to know what I have to unlearn, but one thing which I know which I should avoid is probably not believing that children like young achievers to exist, which I didn't believe initially, but I feel like I've started believing that now. So
Great.
that's
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
Okay, so if you all were to write your autobiography or any book, what would the title be?
yeah, I'm sorry.
No, go
Yeah,
ahead. Go ahead. Anyone can go ahead. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not exactly an autobiography, but I've written a book featuring 25 young achievers, which includes me. So, I've already written it. It's yet to be published. It's going to be
Great.
published soon. So,
Wonderful.
it's named The First Step. So, it's basically the journey of how I started the venture and stuff. So, it's
Wonderful. Wonderful. Manish, Naganan, Bruno, please.
I have many topics. I don't know what to say. This one. So, but back from the ashes is what I would say for myself. Uh,
Wow. Great. Bruno, Manish.
Yeah. I would say something which may sound counterproductive, which is discipline equals freedom.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. That is something
Adventurous life. Yeah. Mine is
adventurous life.
adventure. Uh-huh.
Great. Great. Okay. So, three life skills which are must have for everyone. Three life skills.
uh, Communication, number one, and self-awareness, number two, and and interpersonal skills. And these are the two things. I mean, two things.
Great.
Uh,
sorry.
Communication skill, definitely. Communication soft skill. Uh, the household chores. You know, I think there is a lot of learning when we do household chores. Uh, and the third thing is how you interact with other human being. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that is
Interpersonal. Yeah.
the yeah,
Okay.
interpersonal interaction. Yeah.
Yeah. Hasini, go ahead.
For me, it's probably number one, exploration. Secondly, learning because I love learning and I love exploring and getting into new fields. Thirdly, the ability to understand that everything is not easy to achieve and you'll have to put your effort and have to go through a lot of hurdles and buttons of difficulties. So, yeah, have the mindset and I feel like you're ready to go on.
Wonderful. Bruno?
Curiosity, to be curious always, to be humble always, and to have a good sense of humor.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
nice. Wonderful. Okay, so which is one common belief or practice which is currently happening in the world, which you think that it needs a mindset shift, So, for example, for me, it's productivity. Like, I think being productive is everything you need, but slowly, I'm trying to understand that you can just be there. You don't have to do everything all the time. So, this is for the example. So, there is something, if anything you can think of.
Yeah.
Which,
Success. Success. The definition of success. Having this video done is also a success for you today. So
Mhm.
the definition of success needs to be changed for everyone.
Yes, great. Yeah, Bruno.
Not to be reactive and to be productive instead. To be proactive, sorry. To be proactive,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
Not reactive, but proactive.
Yeah, great. Hasini,
From yeah, from
go ahead.
go
Manish, go
ahead,
ahead.
Asini.
No,
Yeah,
you go
from
ahead.
competition to
Yeah.
cooperation.
Okay. Yeah.
For me, it's probably the definition of entrepreneurship. People just think it's about making money or being a businessman. Even I thought it was the same. I never even knew that entrepreneurship existed, like this term. So it's more than that. It's an field where you can learn a lot and explore a lot, make new friends, meet new people, and yeah, it's an adventurous field. So I want this to
Wonderful.
be changed.
Yeah, because conventional meaning of entrepreneurship is just running a business and making a lot of money and getting fame. But definitely, entrepreneurship is a very big learning opportunity. Great. Okay. So one question for the learner now for Hasini. What is your favorite time pass?
Um, Hanging out with friends. I'm an artist. I have two graduations in an art school, so painting. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Uh, for Naganan, as a parent, one thing your children hate the most about you, like your parenting style.
There are, of of me telling no for TV sometimes. I try to reduce the screen time less than 5 hours, including online, TV and games and other things. So reducing the screen time basically.
Okay.
Archana, let me just jump in real quick. Naganan, this is something I always want to point out to parents when they're talking about screen time, which I agree in setting parameters. Figure out how they're using their screen time. That's a huge difference. Is it passive entertainment versus active learning and creating? If they're doing Minecraft, coding games, give a little extra time. And if they're just mindlessly playing games or watching YouTube, which they still deserve to do, I binge watch Netflix, that should have more of a limit on it. But always find out from them, how are they utilizing that screen time? Active learning screen time extended, passive entertainment screen time, much stricter limitation.
Yeah, great. So, question for Manish. Uh, what happens when you suddenly know that someone you hired, who like he faked his degree, he lied to you to get the job, but then you find him or her as an excellent performer as well as very nice human being? What would you do?
Mm, See, he has cheated first of all, so definitely there will be a punishment for him. But if he is skillful and he is honest, is accepting that, hey, I have cheated you, because how do I learn otherwise? And he is an excellent human being. um, I will load him with a lot of work, you know not let him go just because he is not having degree. But I'll definitely punish him by loading him you know a lot of work, and try to inculcate that, not, you have to be truthful. You don't have to hide things like this. So
Yeah. So definitely
definitely I'll honor his skill and his honesty, and his
trying
human
to get
quality.
trying to take the fear out of him, like why did he do in the first place, right? Like why did
Yes, yes,
because the
yes.
system forces, I know a couple of people who have done this because they were so much competent, but then they didn't have degree to get the job, and they
Hmm.
did it. But anyway, question for Bruno. One thing you absolutely hate but you still have to do as an educator every day.
That's easy. Grading, marking papers, designing paper. No, actually, the designing the paper is not that bad. It's more about the system, which is totally useless and totally pointless for the kids. And it has been even worse with online teaching because you don't know how the parents are going to welcome the marks given for the kids. So this is something which is terrible to deal with when you're an educator.
Okay. Last question for everyone is meaning of happiness in one word for each one of you. Meaning of happiness, just one word.
Being myself and doing what I like.
Okay.
Being in present state.
hmm
Live in the moment.
Okay. Bruno.
Being in peace.
Wow, wonderful. And in one word, definition of success, since Naganan brought out that we need to change the definition of success, and so as many of us thinks that way. Anyway, the meaning of success in one word.
Happiness.
Okay.
It's relative.
That was mine last week, by the way. Success equals happiness. That was my one word.
Wonderful.
He
See,
intelligently reduced two questions into one. Being an educator, he knew that how to do it.
It's true.
Bruno.
Doing what you love to do.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
And
Eh, yeah. Hasini, go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, as far as for me, it's success is when you can inspire your followers to become successful too. So this is something which I've heard people saying, and I don't want to follow the same.
Okay. Last thing.
wonderful.
Again, another question for you is from the poster. What we want to transition from consumption to? What we need a shift from
Creation,
consumption? Yeah. Great.
creation.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you all gave like thoughtful this thing your observation to the poster, but this is something which I feel that there are certain things which we need to shift and transition to create the real education system. That is what I thought, but we can add more when we go. But I think we don't have any questions from, but thanks a lot, Sanjeev. We had Abhishek Pasari was there. Then we had Rakesh. We had couple more, but I could not see their names. But thank you everyone for passionately listening to us. And wonderful. Thanks a lot to all my panelists to make for giving me a lot of support and co-hosting it beautifully. Thanks a lot, Manish, Naganan, Bruno, and Hasini to be here. And I would really love you to reach out into your network. And if you find, because we are actually trying to do this, and we already have more than 100 panelists anyway in line to be on coming on our weekly episodes. But would love if you know someone who can add a lot of value to this discussions we are holding. And thanks a lot again, everyone. And have a good night, good evening. And Mick, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say too. I think I've seen Hasini, like your daughter Maitri, has great interview skills. So I see her being a future co-host now that she's moved on from panelist. We'll have to have her back to help us co-host with a different panel in the future. She's already shown
Yes,
she has those skills
definitely.
amongst many others. And thank you to everybody else. That, as I said, your answers were inspirational and give everyone listening and ourselves a lot to think about. And that's most appreciated in conversations like this. So thank you to everyone, and thank you to Archana for letting me co-host with her on this
No,
wonderful
it's
topic.
it's all like we are all co-creating this in the universe. I don't think that I'm just being an instrument to just initiate this, but it's all our co-creation together. And thanks a lot. And I'll will also be putting this into the audio format, so it will be on Spotify and other platforms soon. But we wanted to go live, so we wanted to add another flavor to it, so that's why we are hosting live, as well as the audio version will be available soon. Thanks a lot, everyone, and see you soon. Please be in touch, and it's a lot of things we learned from all of you today. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. Have a good rest of the night
Thank
or
you.
day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Good
Bye
night.
all.
Bye.
Bye.